Well, hello again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Hey, today I want to talk a little bit about these watches. I've already done in-depth reviews on these, but these are just a couple of variations on the very popular Casio Duro, the MDV-106. Some people call these the Casio Marlin watches because of the little Marlin logo on the front and also on the case back. So these are just, like I said, super popular. It has the classic styling of, that old Rolex Submariner that's been around for generations. And it's just a good solid quartz watch. Keeps great time, 200-meter water resistance with a screw-down crown. And what's not to like? Also available at incredibly low prices, especially if you can find a deal at your local Walmart store. So people love these. But of course, I'm thinking, is there any way they could improve upon these, in a budget-friendly way? And I thought, well, it's Casio. So for me, you'd think, well, maybe they could make them solar-powered, or maybe have built-in atomic timekeeping. I don't know. And I wasn't able to find those exact features on watches that retain this exact style. And what I mean, it has to be metal with a rotating bezel and just a very simple analog face like this, something that looks just like this with more features. And I think Casio is going to leave well enough alone for now as far as still doing these. And there's one other color variation on the Duro that's available right now. But here's something I found that kind of proves that if they wanted to, they could make a Duro that's solar powered. Look at how this compares. This is a three-hand analog watch, 100-meter water resistant. It's made all of resin here. It's got that date window there at the 3 o'clock position, and solar powered. So this is really the watch I wanted to talk about today. Okay, so this one, the model number on this is the MRW-S310H 1BV. There are two other color variations on this. And when I went looking around to try and buy one, this is the only one I found in stock anywhere. But there's one with kind of some blue accents around it, one with kind of some gold accents around it. So, I guess you can still look for those. But again, a very simple resin case, not a super expensive watch. You pay a little bit of a premium, for that solar power there. But otherwise, I'm saying if they really wanted to, they could take a movement like this, solar powered, and stick it into a case like this, and Casio could make a solar powered Duro watch if they wanted to. I wonder what they will do. But, let's not talk about something that doesn't exist. Let's get right into this watch. So here on the case, you can see, of course, it's the, model number there. Module 5330 and stainless steel back, water resistant to, 100 meters or 10 bars and made in China. So pretty simple there. It's got a nice, just standard crown there. It's got the 4 screws to remove the case back in case for any reason you need to get inside there. But I don't think you need to because it's solar powered. I think it's going to run for years and years and years with basically very little maintenance. Just keep it nice. Comes standard with this resin watch band, nothing fancy about that at all. And there's some spring bars there. So I guess if you wanted to, you could take this off and replace it with whatever kind of watch band or strap you like. My experience with some of the older Casios is these resin watch bands, they tend to crack after years of, putting them on and off and bending this a lot. But, it's nothing super expensive, nothing super difficult if you ever needed to replace the watch band on this. And like I said, you could replace it with something else just because you want to. Now, generally speaking, I don't think it's very wise to complain about a watch maybe lacking some features that it was never intended to have in the first place. So I'm not going to complain too much about what could have been improved here. It's a fairly low-priced watch, but this bezel is the only thing I could truly find a reason to complain about. It turns both directions, and that's fine. It doesn't have any ratcheting or anything. But it turns just a little bit too easily. So if you're wearing this and, you put your hands in your pockets or just kind of rub up against things, it's very easy for this to be turned a little bit. So if you're using the bezel to, really time something important, and the way to do that is you put this marker by the minute hand, and then as time goes on, you can tell how many minutes have elapsed since you started timing something. And right in the middle of your timing using that method, you just kind of, bump up against something and, there it goes like that and it's in the wrong position. That's the only thing that can really go wrong with this. It just turns a little too easily. But other than that, it's just a good solid watch. I like the red accents with the, the 24-hour time numbers there on the inside of the main ring there. And the red second hand and the red solar powered. Other than that, it's very simple. Very, very clean looking watch. Okay, so if you're going to get this watch and it's brand new to you, the first thing you're going to want to do is set the time. And the time setting is pretty standard with this crown that you would find on a lot of analog watches. In this position where the crown is pushed in all the way, you can turn it back and forth and nothing happens. If you pull it out one click, then you can adjust the date. And if you turn it clockwise, nothing happens. But if you turn it counterclockwise, or as if you're pulling it towards yourself like this, then you will advance the date there. And one method that people have for setting the time is that you set this date to the day before the date that you are, the actual date. So, and also you want to make sure that you're not doing this when the hands are showing in between, say, 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. So if you're not sure if it's a.m. or p.m., just avoid doing any setting of the date in between the hours of 9 and 1, according to the owner's manual, and you should be in pretty good shape. So here's one method of setting it to the right time. Right there, I've got it on yesterday's date. Now I'm going to pull the crown out to the second position, so there's 2 clicks out. And now when I turn it this way, I have stopped the second hand, and I'm going to advance the minute hand and the hour hand this way. And one thing I want to discover here is, was it showing AM or PM? So if I bring this around all the way here past 11, it starts to move. Oh, so that shows me it is approaching midnight according to the watch. And so then here I go, and I'm on the current date there. And now I'll just bring it around all the way to the actual time of day right now, which is approaching 4:25 p.m. So it just takes me a little bit of time to, oh, I accidentally pushed it in. Okay, get around to 4:25. And now, and they do recommend you go about 5 minutes beyond the time that you want to set it to, and then bring it back. And in this case, well, the second hand isn't really synchronized with that. If I put this minute hand in between the 25 and 26, and then I press it down, then the second hand will start moving again. And that is one way to set the time. Another way to set the time is to allow the second hand to get all the way up to the 12 o'clock position. And as soon as it reaches the straight up 12 o'clock position, I'm going to pull this crown out 2 clicks. Okay, and when it's pulled out all the way, 2 clicks, it stops the second hand. Now I'm going to go around and say, okay, was that AM or PM? I forgot. Oh, it was showing PM because here the date is starting to advance. And so now I'm going to bring it around. Now it's past midnight. And so now I'm going to bring it all the way around to the current time. So I'm going to go, I have to go past the 12 again. And since it doesn't advance here between 11 and 12, that means it just advanced from AM to PM. So the date did not need to advance there. But as I'm getting around here, the actual time now is approaching 4:28. So I'm going to get down here and I'm going to point that minute hand as closely as I can to the 28-minute marker down there. And now I'm going to wait because I have on this hand here one of my radio-controlled multi-band 6 G-Shock watches. So as soon as this gets to 4:28 exactly, then I'm going to push that crown back in and restart this watch. So I'm just going to wait a few seconds for that to happen. And one of the tricky things here is not to spin this crown as you're pushing it in. Try not to rotate it. And here we go, right at there. Okay, so now I pushed it in all the way, and now it's running, and it should be set to exactly the right time. The nice thing about this watch is that Casio says it should be accurate to within 20 seconds a month. But what people are finding, their actual experience with these watches, is that it's accurate to maybe within 1 second a week. So that's down Clearly much better than the factory specifications say it should be. So that's really good. So I may not need to adjust this very often if I want to keep that second hand perfectly synchronized with, say, atomic time. For most folks, if it's within a few seconds of the right time, that's perfectly accurate, adequate anyway, and I don't mind that. Now in this case, okay, I've got it running, and the time is correct, but the date is still wrong. So since I know that this is set correctly for around 4:30 p.m. at this time, all I want to do now is advance the date. So I'm going to pull this crown out just one click, and when I do that, again, I just spin this counterclockwise, and I'll take that all around until I get to today's actual date, which is 25. And if I do this, okay, I'm all set. I'm going to push this all the way in again, and there I go. Not much to worry about from this point onward, except now, not every month is 31 days long. So when I reach a month that is less than 31 days, well, at the end of that month and at the beginning of the new month, I'm going to have to manually advance this. And so I don't have to change the time setting because that's already going to be, pretty close to what it needs to be on these analog hands. But all I do, again, when a month is less than 31 days, then all I have to do is pull this out one click and advance that. And so there's only 5 months every year that don't have 31 days. So maybe that won't be too much of a hassle to just, keep that updated manually every few months. All right, so again, solar power. So this thing doesn't need to have the batteries changed. I've got some other solar powered watches from Casio. My oldest one, I've had it for over 14 years, and it's been running without any difficulty for 14 years. I've never had to replace a battery or do any kind of power maintenance. I've never had the back off and opened up the case for that original solar-powered watch that I got so many years ago. So I don't know, maybe I'll have similar performance from this watch, and we'll check up on each other 14 years from now and see if it's running perfectly without any kind of battery maintenance. Now, the only battery maintenance you need to worry about is you need to make sure this is exposed to enough light every day to keep it running. So normally, just normal everyday lighting conditions where you live and work should be enough to keep this battery topped off. Even if you work in an office with fluorescent lights, which don't provide as much power to the solar cell here, still, if you work there for several hours a day under normal conditions, that'll be enough light to keep this going. That whole face of the watch is a solar cell. So if you're wearing long sleeves or a jacket or something and it's covering up the face, then of course it's not going to get the light that it needs to keep itself charging up. But, if you wanted to, and I've done this a few times, if you think you need to charge up the battery, just set it out on some outdoor furniture and let it sit in direct sunlight for a few minutes. That should be enough to keep it going. But there's no indication here that the battery is low. If the battery were low, then this second hand would tick twice every 2 seconds, just kind of a double tick every 2 seconds. And if you see it behaving that way, that just means it needs to be charged up. And like I said, just give it some sunshine. And once it's topped off, it should be really easy to keep it topped off. Now, don't do what some people do. I don't recommend this. Some people, when they're not using a watch, they stick it in a drawer, in a dark drawer where it gets no light at all. And then they wonder, oh, my watch stopped. What happened? This is just a watch that shouldn't be stored in a drawer. Leave it on the dresser. Leave it, somewhere where it's going to get exposure to everyday normal light, and that will keep it charged up if you're not going to wear it every day. And really, I think that's all you need to know about this watch. I'll keep an eye on things if Casio releases more versions of this watch, or, puts it in a metal case and tries to make it look, more like one of these. But for now, I'm satisfied. For some people, this would be like a perfect beater watch. And so more power to you if you think you're going to give this watch a rough time. Like I said, not too expensive, and I'm sure it's accurate and, charges itself pretty much maintenance free. A nice little diver style watch that is not going to break the bank. All right, well, that's all for now. I've got some more videos coming up. So thank you for watching this one, and I hope you will join me again later in another episode of the Good Timekeeping Show.